Sad news today, the passing of Robert Redford, where the words legend and icon don't feel like enough. I mean, he truly was. He died in his home in Utah. He was 89 years old. If you're a member of our Patreon, we will be honoring him in October with our Off the Menu poll. Alonso curates these things beautifully with wonderful selections from people's filmography. It's going to be hard to pick Robert Redford movies.
We're talking like 60 years or something of really amazing performances.
Yeah. So what are your thoughts? What are your memories on Robert Redford?
I mean, a lot. Obviously, just as an actor, I think was one of sort of the great movie stars who was also a character actor, and if you look at his work, like I just dug up my review of the 2013 film All Is Lost, which I feel like never got the credit it was due, but it is a one-man show with almost no dialogue. It's doing it all just with his face and with his physicality and the action of the film as this man who's trying desperately to not drown, after a boating incident in the Indian Ocean. And just the kind of power and magnetism that he had in front of the camera, like you couldn't throw just anybody into that movie, but he pulls it off. But you look back at his career and like, yes, he played charming romantic leads, but he also did like, really, films that really grunged him up, like Jeremiah Johnson, films that tackled issues like 3 Days of the Condor. I think it's a really vast filmography that covers a lot of different tones. And then, I think he was really sharp about using his celebrity to support causes that meant something to him, whether it was the environment. I remember as a little kid watching TV and there'd be these ads where you'd hear Robert Redford's voice telling you about how we have to save the peregrine falcon, And obviously, for American independent cinema would not be the same without Robert Redford and the Sundance Institute. I think that is, one can say that with no hyperbole whatsoever.
For sure.
And so the amount of time and money and personal goodwill that he poured into that organization and the artists that organization then went on to nurture and inspire and give an outlet to is immeasurable. So yeah, he is one of the greats.
For sure. And an early, I think, adopter of the philosophy that you can use your celebrity for good. And you look at people like Leonardo DiCaprio and Mark Ruffalo, who have followed in that tradition. Mark Ruffalo posted on Instagram this long letter that he wrote to Robert Redford when he heard that he was ill. And it was very like celebratory of him and grateful to him for the path that he created, that he forged for that kind of marriage of, using your power of celebrity for good. I feel like he was trying to tell us really early that there was so much more to him than his fantastic good looks, because he was so beautiful. I was looking back through old photos to post for our community page for a thing I posted there about asking folks to share their favorite films of his, and like heart-stoppingly, breathtakingly beautiful. But then he would do movies like even Barefoot in the Park, early stuff. Yeah. He was trying to tell us that he was a more serious actor than that he wasn't flimsy. And yes, he's a love interest in like The Way We Were, for example, but there's something kind of like sad and elusive about him, something deeper about him than just like he looked really great in that cable knit sweater.
Right. And I think The Way We Were is one of those movies where he is actively using his looks as a way to comment on this character, whether it is somebody like Hubble in The Way We Were, who has things handed to him and thus becomes kind of callow over the course of his life, or like his as the title role in Michael Ritchie's The Candidate, where image is everything and substance begins to disappear the more successful he becomes and the more he's, able to sort of reach out to a larger populace. He does so by diluting his own drive as a politician and ultimately his own soul,
Yeah, he had that whole run in the 70s of all those incredible political thrillers. I mean, All the President's Men we haven't mentioned yet. He made journalism look really exciting. And that kind of like really like tough, monotonous, like phone call, shoe leather journalism, but he had that magnetism and that great chemistry with Dustin Hoffman. They made it look real exciting. And of course, as a director, he took all that clout, all that goodwill, and he made serious films. The first film he ever made was Ordinary People.
Yeah. Yeah, which I holds up. We went back and rewatched it again recently, and yeah, that's a movie that is so much about like unspoken pain and about, again, image versus reality, and like what, the sort of outward, you know uh, 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 you know mirage of calm and facade. Thank you. That's the word I wanted. The facade of calm and good living and stuff, but what lies hidden beneath that, and what people are tamping down to sort of, not interfere with the image they're projecting. And he got that amazing performance out of Mary Tyler Moore that was completely different from anything she had done up until that point. So, he won an Oscar for his first time directing. Granted that, that's the year that Scorsese probably should have won for Raging Bull, but whatever. Yeah. He was a very talented filmmaker. I think a producer with great taste, and an actor who, continued through the decades, I think, like I said, to give these really surprising and insightful performances.
He was like 77 years old when he made All Is Lost.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Because it was 12 years ago.
Right.
I went back and I watched, you and I reviewed it on What the Flick. I went back and I rewatched our review of that. So that is out there. And I think about the relationship of his image with the idea of the American West, and what he was trying to say about us as a country, setting Sundance in Utah, but then also movies like A River Runs Through It, or, Butch and Sundance, and The Sting, the ideas of like what this American iconography, he's taking a closer look at it. He's scrutinizing it, poking holes in it, and trying to understand it on a deeper level beyond just like the ideals.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think he is, he wasn't directing at the time, but I think absolutely he is part of the new Hollywood movement. He is, he starts out in like TV and other things in stage in the 60s, but I think becomes this sort of go-to leading man for filmmakers like Alan Pakula, like Sidney Lumet, or whoever, like, who are making these sort of complicated movies about what America is. And he visually represents this idealized version of what America is, which I think makes him a more effective player in those films that are actually asking questions.
Sure. Blonde hair, blue eyed, handsome, rugged. He's from LA originally. He grew up in the Valley, went to Van Nuys High School, went to University of Colorado Boulder for like a year and a half, dropped out. So again, he's like, he represents these ideas of like all American good looks, but also wants to play with it.
He and Sidney Pollack both studied with Sanford Meisner in New York, and then Pollack went on to direct him in a number of films, including The Way We Were and Havana, and I forget several. Like they had, Pollack directed 3 Days the Condor. That's what I couldn't remember. It was like, I mean, they had a tight working relationship.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm excited to see, Alonso, what you pick for our off the menu poll. I don't even know. We'll talk about it. We'll figure out how to even approach this, because it's just a behemoth of a topic. But let us know what your memories are of Robert Redford. We will be back here on Friday, as we always are, at noon Pacific time, live with our Movie News Live. So come join us then and share some more thoughts then, and share your thoughts down below of what films you love of his and what you'll remember about him.